Hello everyone, thank you for watching. My name is TJ and I am the current president for Midwest Music Research Collective, or MMRC. Today I am joined by two members of the Graduate Teaching Assistant Coalition, or GTAC, Andrew, the current GTAC president, and Katie, GTAC grievance chair. For anyone unfamiliar with MMRC or GTAC, we will give a short introduction to these groups before going further into the presentation. MMRC is a graduate student organization that was founded in 2017. We have a yearly conference, and our goal is to provide professional development for graduate students while creating opportunities for scholars to show their work. Last year, we began a lunch lecture series with the collaboration of Musicians for an Anti-Racist College, or MARC, and we will continue this year.
GTAC is a student-led union for graduate teaching assistants that promotes workers' rights. It is at this time that I would like to stress that you do not have to be a dues-paying member to be protected by the union. The union is for all GTAs, regardless of how active you are in the union or if you pay dues. So please keep in mind that the rights and information covered in this presentation apply to you, even if you're not involved in the union. This is because Kansas is a right-to-work state, meaning that while GTAC and its membership is responsible for negotiating the terms of and voting to approve the contract that applies to all GTAs at KU, grads do not have to join the union because all laborers have a right to work and a right to the same contract under state labor law.
Today we are going to cover GTA's rights as negotiated by GTAC for all GTAs at KU. This contract covers some of the rights, benefits, and processes you have as a GTA. This presentation will be recorded and posted on GTAC's and MMRC's social media. Please feel free to ask any questions or write them down for after the presentation is over. We want to leave plenty of time at the end for questions and concerns. The outline for this presentation essentially summarizes the contract GTAC has with the University of Kansas.
This contract is called the MOA, or Memorandum of Agreement. This is a document that lays out rules and regulations regarding KU GTAs. It is renegotiated every 2 years. This presentation uses the 2018 MOA. You do not need to be a dues-paying member of GTAC to be protected by the MOA. PERA refers to the Public Employer-Employee Relations Act, which helps to establish public workers' rights in Kansas. PERB, or the Public Employee Relations Board, is the administrative arm of PERA. Should there be a problem that cannot be fixed or addressed within the university by GTAC, it goes to PERB. In the unlikely event that you deal with PERB, the AFT, or American Federation of Teachers, will supply you with legal representation. GTAC is a local chapter of the National AFT Union umbrella.
If, during the course of this presentation or after, you think that your rights are not being met, PERA prohibits your employer from retaliating or discriminating against you. I know that it can be hard to speak up out of fear that you will be punished, but try not to let that fear stop you from doing what is best for yourself. Additionally, discrimination is not allowed at the university. In the music discipline, there is usually a strong bond between y'all and your mentors, but that bond does not excuse exploitation or poor treatment. You deserve to be treated fairly, and often your mentors are not familiar with the MOA. It is important to address any issue you may have. Often, talking it through with a GTAC steward will give you the answers you need to empower action.
Once you have your letter of appointment to be a GTA, you cannot suddenly be fired. This letter acts as a contract that means as long as you are doing your job, you will work for the length of time that is stated in your letter, usually 1 academic year. In order to hold on to your GTA-ship, you must be in good academic standing and take at least 6 credit hours. If you cannot take 6 credit hours due to medical reasons or other forms of hardship, you can petition to waive the 6-hour requirement. Additionally, if you have finished your coursework and are not taking at least 6 hours of dissertation, you can still keep your GTA-ship. The key point here is, as long as you have been given a contract, meet these requirements, and complete these duties, you will keep your appointment. If you are fired for not meeting these requirements, i.e. you are in poor academic standing or haven't taken enough hours, it is not over. In these situations, there is a review, and if you pass said review, you will keep your appointment. Additionally, your duties should not exceed your FTE, full-time employment, status. For example, the standard GTA FTE is a 0.5 appointment, with duties that cannot go over 20 hours per week. This leads to the question, what exactly are my duties as a GTA?
In general, your duties are determined by your supervisor and department. Your assignment should be given to you well before the start of the semester, with instructions on your assigned class the week before school begins each semester. If you are given verbal instructions, you need a written copy provided by your supervisor as soon as they are able. These instructions are important. They act as your guide and shield during your teaching process. Instructions can help keep your supervisor accountable. Should they try to add tasks outside of your instructions or demand unreasonable duties, this written copy of your GTA instructions can help against exploitation of your labor. Aside from the initial meeting to get you instructions, you can request additional meetings with your supervisor.
While you are working as a GTA, you will get semesterly evaluations. How these evaluations are given vary by department. While you should be able to see these evaluations, you are guaranteed at least one written formal evaluation during your time as a GTA. This formal evaluation, and really any other evaluation you receive, will be useful when applying for teaching jobs and learning how to become a better teacher. If, for some reason, you believe that your evaluation was unfair or was given on performance of duties outside of your role as a GTA, you can fight this with an appeal or through the grievance procedure. If you think you have been evaluated unfairly, contact a member of GTAC, a steward, or a grievance chair. It is important that you realize there are options.
While you are teaching, there are certain resources and materials that your department is supposed to provide for you. The key phrase in the MOA is that you will be provided with, quote, resources comparable to those available to other employees, end quote. This means that you should be given office space, as this is needed to have confidential meetings with students. Access to a copying machine, computer with internet, and a physical mailbox. Essentially, you have the right for an office with the tools you need to meet with and prepare work for students in class. If you do not have any of these materials or space, it is important that you speak to your supervisor or reach out to GTAC. More than likely, your supervisor is not aware that they are required to provide these things for you. You also do not have to purchase textbooks or any additional materials that are required for the classes you are teaching. Make sure that you have secured the text and supplementary materials needed when, or before, you meet with your advisor. This does not apply if you're creating your own course from scratch, but aside from private lessons, this is rare in the music building. So make sure that you are not spending money and time that you don't need to be.
If you have not taken education classes before or have not had experience with teaching, you may want additional resources or access to professional development. Even if you have experience teaching, it is a good thing to grow and get better. For new GTAs, you will have to complete additional orientations and trainings, but there are other trainings offered by the university that are available for all GTAs, both new and returning. While payment or reimbursement for conferences is not guaranteed, it depends on available funding, you are allowed paid time off to attend conferences. There are some exceptions to this rule, such as going to a conference outside of your field or traveling while struggling with your academics. But, generally, as long as you cover your classes, you should be allowed to go to conferences or professional development events without missing your paycheck.
There have been several moments in this presentation in which we talked about things that you should do or things you are allowed to do as a GTA. It can be scary to ask for things, especially when you do not know how you could be punished. This portion of the presentation will be to go over what happens if you get in trouble and what you can do about it. Here is something you should know upfront. You cannot be fired without any warning or process. I repeat, no one can fire you without warning. Also, remember the non-discrimination part of the presentation several slides back. You cannot be fired or disciplined for discriminatory reasons. Generally, if your employer has an issue with your performance, you will be given the chance to undergo counseling. This first stage can take many forms, but the important thing is to remember that you have a chance to change your behavior and prevent further action. If you create a pattern of needing disciplinary action, you may go through a more formal process, including a write-up. If any disciplinary action is taken, you will receive a notice by email and physical mail detailing why you are in trouble and what was done about it. The thought of getting disciplined can be very scary, but try not to let that stop you from being treated fairly.
But what happens if you think you are being treated unfairly? We have mentioned several different moments and situations that might call for you to stand up for yourself. The grievance procedure is meant to protect you in the case of unfair treatment.
The word grievance can seem dramatic. Essentially, a grievance is a complaint, statement of dissatisfaction, or violation of the MOA. Many, if not most, grievances are resolved with minimal fuss. The MOA is a long document, and many GTAs and professors are unfamiliar with what is listed in the contract. Often, once the professor has been alerted to the sections of the MOA, the problem is resolved. It is important to know that a professor not being familiar with the MOA is not a reason to allow yourself to be mistreated.
You can report mistreatment, even if you just suspect that you're being mistreated, to GTAC through a union steward. The grievance procedure is for any concern not covered by Title IX or the Office of Institutional Opportunity and Access. Of course, you should always reach out, and a union steward will be able to look over your issue and at the very least point you in the right direction. If in doubt, reach out. GTAC exists to help you through any concerns you may have. They want to help. Nothing moves forward without your permission. You have ultimate control over what happens with your complaints. Oftentimes, once a steward answers questions, the GTA feels empowered to respond on their own. However, it is completely fine for you to want a GTAC steward to be present or help additionally.
Before we get into the basic steps of the grievance procedure, let's take this time to remind everyone that all GTAs are allowed to submit complaints or question their treatment. You do not have to be a dues-paying member of GTAC. Also, remember that your employers are not allowed to retaliate against you for trying to exercise your rights. On a personal note, as this is not in the MOA, try to keep all emails between you and your supervisor and ask to record meetings. This may seem a little overboard, but this doesn't have to be with the idea of future complaints in mind. Often notes and recordings are valuable learning tools for future use. You should all know this as teachers and students. So, let's say that you suspect that you are working more than you should, don't have an office space, have been asked to do something that is outside of your teaching duties, and so on. Basically, let's pretend that you have something that concerns you. First of all, reach out to the union, either a steward that you know, or through their Facebook, or just another union member.
Like we mentioned before, this first informal step is as far as most grievances go. You reach out, we look into it, and give you information. You or GTAC informs your supervisor, and usually the problem is solved. You are entitled to have a union member be present at any meetings with your supervisor. Should, for whatever reason, the issue is not resolved in this informal step, the MOA lists additional steps to try and address the issue. This includes writing to the head of your department or dean of the school. While you can do this yourself, a union steward can do this for you. You do not have to submit a grievance alone. Also, if you are worried about retaliation, GTAC can submit your grievance anonymously. It can be difficult to get over the feeling that you could be punished for complaining, and it is for your peace of mind that the grievances can be filed anonymously. Grievances can also be filed as a group, anonymously or not. If you are experiencing an issue, the odds are that other GTAs in your department are too. Talk to them. Presenting a group grievance, even if it's anonymous, can be a powerful step towards better treatment. The important thing to remember in all this is that you have rights as a GTA. There is a system in place to help protect and empower you as a worker.
And that's the summary of the MOA. We covered a lot of information, and we hope that you know more about GTAC and your rights as GTAs. please feel free to ask any questions or email questions to the contacts listed on the slide. Thank you so much for listening.